Hey everyone, this is Jade from ShutUpAndRockOn.com, and I have on the phone with me the man you may best know from Alcatrazz, alongside other bands like MSG and Rainbow, Mr. Graham Bonnet. Graham, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine in this hot weather. It's fantastic.
You're in Los Angeles, right? It gets pretty hot over there.
Yeah, we've had like 104 degrees yesterday, I believe it was. Today's a little cooler, but I love it because I like to get out on my bike. I ride my bike out. My road bike out there and have fun in the sun, baby. It's much better than England. You know, couldn't do that there.
I know. I'm in upstate New York, and it's 60 degrees and raining for the past week, so I'm a little jealous of you, Graham, but...
Oh, wow. I used to live in Long Island.
Oh, no way.
For a year.
Cool.
In Valley Stream. Do you know that area?
Yeah, I'm from New York City, but I live in upstate in Rochester. It's right under Canada, so it's always cold over here.
Oh, God, okay. Yeah, but Long Island is way too cold for me in the winter. It's awful.
Oh, yeah.
Really cold. But I digress.
So, everyone, Graham Bonnet, the Graham Bonnet Band, has their first album out that came out last year, and they're releasing a live CD and DVD next month. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some of your influences, Graham, and what made you want to start singing?
Made me start singing? From years ago. Well, I used to listen to people. One of my favorite singers was a guy called Mario Lanza, who did movies in the 1950s. He was an opera singer, and he had a beautiful voice. And no one ever recognized him as being an opera singer because the opera geeks all thought anyone who makes movies wasn't valuable to the operatic society for some reason. So he's one of those guys that nobody really took seriously for some reason as a singer. But to me, he was like the best. He had a very recognizable voice. But other than him, there was people like Buddy Holly I listened to, and Little Richard, and Fats Domino, all the the people you expect a kid of 10 or whatever I was back in the 50s.
Yeah.
It was, that's what I listened to. Paul Anka, everybody, anybody who was making records, I listened to and tried to emulate as much as I could, get some kind of a vocal style from the records I listened to, from the people I heard singing these things. I love Buddy Holly, but I'll never sing like him. I love Little Richard. I try to sing like him. but he's one of those guys that is the best rock and roll singer ever,
Oh, yeah. And...
Yeah.
Tell me about your first, really notable group, The Marbles, because I don't know very much about it. I researched it briefly yesterday. I know it was with your cousin, and that was your first hit single was with that band. So tell me about that group.
Yeah, well, that was back in 1968. My cousin Trevor Gordon and I made this record that was written by the Bee Gees. My cousin lived in Australia for a while, and in fact was part of the Bee Gees when he was about 12, because they used to make records out there together. So Trevor made records with the Bee Gees. It was called Trevor Gordon and the Bee Gees, and then Trevor would play on their records, and it was just called the Bee Gees. So I used to get to all their singles that they made way back then in 1960 something or other, 65 or 66, I think it would be. And so I heard a lot of Bee Gees stuff before the rest of the world heard about the Bee Gees. But it was Barry Gibb that wrote a song called Only One Woman for Trevor and I, and it went to number 3 in the British charts and number 1 in certain parts of Europe. It did really, really well, but it was never released over here for some reason. It was kind of an R&B type song, something you'd imagine the Righteous Brothers doing or something, but it was very kind of soulful, and that was our first start. So we did pretty good, and I think Barry Gibb and the Gibb brothers for giving me a career.
Yeah, and you just referred to that. I was going to ask you a question because you said it was like an R&B single, and I read online that you kind of initially referred to yourself as more of an R&B singer than a rock and roll singer, which is funny because I best know you as, a rock and roll singer. So what made you go from R&B to rock and roll?
It was, I was forced into it.
Oh, great.
They made me do it. Well, it was really, I sang a lot of pop stuff and R&B. I have to say, R&B was kind of I loved, Motown and Sam and Dave and all that kind of stuff, and Otis Redding. That was my kind of style. But because of that single I'm talking about that my cousin and I made, the Bee Gees wrote, I got a job in a band called Rainbow, and suddenly I found out I had to be another guy. I was this other guy who was going to sing hard rock or whatever you want to call it these days. What do we call it? Do we call it metal? I don't know.
I think that was like the first rock, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Rainbow is ever really metal as such.
I agree.
But anyway, that was a bit of a challenge because I thought, well, what am I supposed to do with these songs? How do I sing them? How do I perform them? So it was all kind of trial and error. And I found out that I had another voice, you know. So thanks to Richie Blackmore and Roger Glover and Cozy Powell and Don Airey, I got the job in Rainbow, and I found out that I could do things that I never even dreamed of doing, you know, vocally.
And I also read that you were asked to join Sweet, but you ultimately ended up in Rainbow when Richie asked you. Is that true?
To join who?
To Sweet.
Sweet, yeah, I was offered a few jobs. Well, Sweet was a later one, but I had Steelers Wheel was another one, which I turned down. ELO, when they first started, was another job, which I turned down. What a fool I was, because I never knew that ELO would become so damn big.
Yeah.
There were a few. No, I mean, I went to all those with Jeff Lynne at Philips Studios. I'll never forget it. He played me all this music, rock and roll music with like strings and stuff. I said, "My God, what is this?" It was incredible, you know. And he said to me, "Well, we want you to sing lead vocals on this, but also play bass." And I play bass, but I'm not very good singing and playing bass. I can play guitar and sing, but for some reason, bass eludes me.
Interesting.
So I turned that job down, and I'm, you know, going, oh my God, look how big this band became. You know, and it was, as I said, it was in the baby stages when I heard all this ELO music, and it was fantastic. There were no vocals on it whatsoever, but the arrangements and the way the band sounded was like something I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was that. And Sweet, I turned down because, well, it wasn't really my kind of thing. Yeah.
And when
we had the same producer. That's how the Sweet connection came about.
Oh, okay. That's how they found you. That's cool.
Yeah. A guy called Pip Williams. He was their producer, and he produced quite a few people actually.
And when you're pegged to join Rainbow, you're replacing the late and great Ronnie James Dio. Did you know Dio, like, at all throughout your career?
No, I didn't know him until I joined the band, because I had to listen to their old albums.
Oh, yeah.
And for songs we were going to play live and stuff like that. I'd never heard of Rainbow, to be honest with you. I knew who Deep Purple was. I didn't realize kind of Deep Purple sort of became Rainbow in a way. And so I didn't know Ronnie until I met him, you know, years later.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I hung around with him once in a while, and it was kind of cool, right? Because his wife was a teacher at one point, Wendy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I first knew you as the guy in Alcatrazz because I heard Island in the Sun for the first time, and it was just such an iconic song in the 80s. And tell me about that band, because I know you've got 3 studio albums with Alcatrazz, and they all have different guitar players on them. How does that happen?
Yeah. Alcatrazz began in my garage in Calabasas.
Oh, nice.
And, yes, it certainly did. And so we put a band together because I was like wandering around wondering what the hell I'm going to do with my life and my musical career. I had a guy called Andy Truman who was my manager, and he said, we've got to put a band together that's kind of like a sort of semi-supergroup type thing if you want to do something that's very similar to a Rainbow kind of lineup. And so we found Gary Shea and Jimmy Waldo, who were bass player and keyboard player from a band called New England. We saw an ad in a paper somewhere saying that they were looking for a job, and we found those 2 guys. They'd had a hit with a song called "I Never Want to Lose You," I think it was called. And so he said, "Well, let's start there. Let's get those 2 guys together." So we met up with those guys. Then now we're looking for a drummer. So through I can't remember who told us, but there was a guy called Jan Uvina who used to play for Alice Cooper. So there's a guy. Yeah. So he'd been in Alice Cooper, Dan Uvina, so he came on. He was our drummer. Now all we're stuck for now was a guitar player, and we searched LA like top to bottom. We couldn't find anyone. We had so many guitar players come to see us and rehearse with us, but they were never quite right. And I said to my manager, I want somebody who's kind of like Richie Blackmore, somebody who plays like him. And we found a guy at a store one day says, "You're looking for someone who plays like Richie, aren't you?" And said, "Yeah, sort of." And so I know somebody who cops him perfectly, and it's this kid called Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yep.
So Yngwie comes in, he looks just like Richie Blackmore. He had the Richie Blackmore outfit on to rehearsal, and we asked him to play a certain song for the audition, and he fucking ripped it to pieces. It was like, oh my God, that was incredible.
Yeah.
And he was the guy, like immediately. We knew we had the right guy, and we knew we had the band. It was a long journey, but it was worth it. It took about a year to actually put it together.
And why is he only on one studio album and not all of them?
Because he eventually, let's say he left.
Okay.
It was, it became, his ego got rather large, not his penis, his ego. It became very sort of like, I'm the star of the band, and it was a little, it got pretty violent. We were, sometimes there'd be very strong disagreements amongst the band, and especially him, who I knew that one day would have his own career. I saw this kid as having his own band and being the main guy, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not just part of Alcatrazz. And so that's eventually what happened. But we had to get rid of him because it just wasn't working. It became awful to go out and play with him, to be honest.
Aww.
So he went.
Okay, because I'm going to ask, and I mean this is going to sound kind of weird, but I mean it in the best way possible. I feel like it almost seems like you're more comfortable, doing your own thing kind of solo versus being in bands, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that all along. I never wanted to be in a band ever
and you
until
just got
the
stuck in
Maybach
them.
thing came up. It's because it's much easier.
Yes.
It's easier. You do what the hell you like. You sing what the hell you like. Any kind of music. You play reggae music, record a couple of reggae tracks, whatever, or some fucking corny 1940s song or something, or sing jazz or anything. But to be put in the pocket with a band when everybody's playing this so-called hard rock thing, I'm stuck with it now, and it's never going to go away. So that's what I'm doing now. But I always had my own solo thing that was much more comfortable because you don't have to babysit each other.
Yeah.
When you're in a band, it's like you're following, we've all got to go here, we've all got to have our photograph taken, we've all got to stand in line, we've all got to look tough, we've all got to do this. And it didn't matter so much when it was just me. I could do what I liked. But now I've always been in a band for the past 30 years. I did one solo album, but it was the band thing kept calling me back, like Michael Schenker, et cetera, et cetera.
And tell me about the Graham Bonnet Band, because like you said, you've been doing your solo thing like forever, basically, but the Graham Bonnet Band really only started a couple years ago. What makes you start wanting to do that officially?
Well, it's because I played with Bethany, our bass player, and our guitar player, Conrado Pesonado, at a club, at the Whiskey here.
Okay.
I did a jam one night with them, and I thought, this is fun, because we weren't playing just like heavy rock stuff. We did a Beatles thing and a Bad Finger tune, no matter what you are, that thing, and some other stuff. And I thought, well, this is more fun than doing what I'm doing. And so I asked them both if they want to do something completely different, now for something completely different, which they agreed to, and Bethany and I started doing stuff together, writing some tunes, and then Conrad came in later because he had another gig happening, but he came in later and joined up with us, and then we started to write new songs and put it together, and we were going to do it like a trio, but then after a while, people said, "What the hell are you doing? You can't go out there as like a folk group. You can't do that. You can't go out sing, Since You've Been Gone folk version." And I realized, well, maybe we can't. We probably do need a drummer, and we need a keyboard player, which eventually did happen. So we found ourselves a drummer, and we started to write songs in the more rock and roll kind of way, and that was it. We put this together, and we made what I think is a great album, and here we are. And it's going very well. We had great reviews on our first album, and the gigs we played have had really good responses too. You know, it's been very good. And I was very lucky that these guys are, you know, with me and see what I want to do instead of kind of being the guy who has to do everything hard rock. But I mean, it's there already. I can't get rid of that now. Now, every song I make up has that hard rock kind of edge.
Yeah.
You know, how will this sort of transpose from being an acoustic song into making a band song? So I always think electrically, but probably make up most of my tunes on an acoustic. You know, but it's done. You know, I think we've done pretty good. You know, even though I say so myself. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. And what can someone coming to see the Graham Bonnet Band for the first time expect to see in your show?
Well, it'll be a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
There will, of course, be some rainbow songs. Why not? Something from my solo albums, and possibly Only One Woman from 1968 that Barry Gibb wrote. We play that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And a bit of Michael Schenker and some Alcatrazz, a little bit of everything, and the new songs also. So we got a pretty full program there. So it's going to be okay. I think there's something for everyone. I hope so, anyway. It's
like an homage to you. It's basically just your whole history, your whole musical history.
Exactly. Aren't I fabulous?
Yeah, right?
Come on, look at me. I'm great. You know, it's good though. It's good that I'm still alive, and you know, I do have a lot of material to choose from. It's great for the players in the band to hear some of the stuff I did in the past. They go, "Hey, we should be doing that. Well, we should be doing that. Oh, we won't do that one, but we'll do that one." You know, and they're looking back at stuff I've done, you know, since 1960, 68.
And honestly, thank God that you're still making music, because you have so much stuff in your repertoire, it's not even necessary for you to make music, so I give you so much props for making an album and keeping going with your new band and everything, so.
Oh, well, yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome. And have you guys only toured in overseas in the UK, or have you toured in America?
Well, we did a couple of shows over here, but mostly it's the UK and Europe. Because that's where there seems to be the audience. Mm-hmm. You know, it's over here is, especially in California, it's really hard to put something together for to play here. We play at the Whiskey, which is not the most fabulous place.
Yes,
and a couple of other places, but it's overseas is where the rock audiences seem to be, the kind of music we have. You know, so it's you go where you need it or where you want it and where people will listen. Mm-hmm. And we play festivals over there, to huge crowds. And it's like, why can't we do that in America? Which is something we're working on, because I think America is sort of turning around again, getting back into that hard rock thing. But it has kind of been what I call old white men's music.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's kind of turning around, but it's just where exactly. If we play out at the East Coast or sort of Midwest or somewhere, then you have an audience. But California is kind of hard to, especially Los Angeles. They've seen it all, and there's too many gigs to go through to. And they'd rather go and see Metallica or something. What's it gone to see this band? But it will be proved that we ain't short-lived.
Yeah. And tell me about your live CD, DVD that's coming out next month. It was at the Frontiers Rock Festival, right, last year?
Yeah. Well, that was a night to remember because we've been traveling for 24 hours. We had no sleep, and we got on stage, and I thought I was going to die, and I thought the band would probably die too. It was one of those things where we got to the hotel, and we had to get on stage within like an hour or something, and we'd been on a boat, on a plane, in a car, blah, 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 blah. It was like, we were supposed to perform tonight, what? So I thought we were all going to drop dead, but it turned out fairly well, but I I've seen a little bit of it. I can't watch the whole thing because I know how I felt that night. But it was a really a good attempt, I think. I think it turned out fine, and people are very pleased with what they saw or heard. But it was the tightest night I've ever had. I thought I was going to fall over, but it's turned out well, and the record company's happy with it. So that's good with me. The audience were great. Thankfully, they lifted us up a little bit from the gloom of not sleeping. It's the worst feeling ever. It's like having jet lag. It's the same feeling,
Oh, yeah. And before I let you go, tell me what's next for you. Are you working on anything now? Do you have anything planned?
Yeah, we're right now we're rehearsing we're going out in about 3 weeks. So we're rehearsing now with our new guitar player and our new drummer. So it's going to be a lot of work for them to do, but we're almost ready to go. And then I have material all ready for the next album. So that'll be, after we've been on the road for a while, a month or something, we'll be back to making a new album. And then I'm going out with Michael Schenker for a guest appearance again, I believe. Oh, that's the first thing I'm doing. Actually, in 3 weeks, I'm going to play with Michael Schenker for one gig. And then we start doing our thing. We're on the road touring like Europe,
Well, that's very cool. I'm glad to hear you're still going out there and doing your thing. So thank you so much for talking to me, Graham.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling me.
Thank you for answering.
Then there you go. And good luck in what you do and everything like that. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too, darling.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.